335xi with the single turbo that we just installed. Let me tell you about the first test drive. Here's my car, the silver one. I did the twin turbo upgrade with it. It's been good since the last 13,000 miles or so. I put the turbos on there around 176,000 miles, and now it's over 190. The blue car is the one with the single turbo. So this one, if you saw one of the last videos, got the rear glass smashed out of it. The clutch isn't holding. It just didn't really feel that fast. The whole story behind getting this car going, and then the point where cops got called and the rear glass got smashed out, I'll just go ahead and tell you the whole thing. Me and Ian worked on this car. We put it all back together, mainly just putting the subframe back up because he had already just finished bolting the manifold on. And so I welded up the whole exhaust that whole weekend over about 2 or 3 days, depending if you count half of Friday. And so it was like 2 in the morning. We just finished up on Sunday. So I was telling him, well, we should go take it out for a test drive, make sure everything works right. So he takes it down the road, and the car starts misfiring like less than a mile away from the house. And Ian continues to drive because there wasn't really a good place to pull off. And then there was a good place to pull off. And then all of a sudden, I was like, why aren't you turning here? And he was like, oh, I'm just going to turn around like 2 more miles up. So that's when everything went bad. The car just, like, he drove as far as he possibly could before the car completely stopped running. So if there's something to be learned in this, when you take a car for a test drive, it's just that. It's supposed to be a test drive where you drive the vehicle out for like maybe a mile or two, make sure everything's working right, and then bring it back. So of course he didn't do that. He drove as far as he possibly could, and then we got stranded because the fuel wasn't getting to the engine anymore. And the main problem with that was that his fuel line busted that he used to upgrade the fuel pump. So we walked back home about, I think it was 3.9 miles or 4.9 miles at 2 in the morning. I finally got back at the shop at 3 o'clock. We started walking around 2:20, and we got back at like 3:10. 2 minutes after we walked in the shop, the cops came over, and they're like, well, if you need any help, let us know. Because apparently they realized that the car was sitting over there at the gas station. And where the car originally stopped, we had to push it an additional 100 yards just to get it to the gas station. So that was a workout in itself. And then on top of that, a combination of running and walking over 4 miles that night at 2 in the morning, that was kind of a workout. Went back to the shop and then got the tools. We had an idea of what was going on, so we just went ahead and decided we were going to fix it that night. We picked up a fuel pump bucket thing, an extra one that we had, or original, and we just went down to the car, drove my car down to his car, and replaced that part so that we could get it running. Well, actually, I think he just slid on the fuel hose. He put the correct fuel hose on it this time. He just slid on the fuel hose, and then we got it running and just drove back home. So it was 5 a.m. by that point, so he was like, well, I may as well get it inspected since it's like almost 8 o'clock. So we woke up at like 8 o'clock or 9 or whatever after we had just been out till 5 to work with our employees. Then Ian's like, well, I'm just going to go ahead and get it inspected after having like 2 hours of sleep. Then he backs into the dumpster that he decided to sit in the middle of the driveway back there, which was completely his fault because he put the dumpster there. It wasn't there. It was actually in the middle of the driveway for like months because he put it there. So he backed into that and smashed the glass out of it. And now it's completely fixed after being at the body shop for about a week or two. But it looks great. But now we got to do another test drive. Oh yeah, so I drove it over to the body shop, and then on the way back, or once he parked it, the car wouldn't start again. Fuel line came off the pump again. Well, last time it exploded, but this time it just came off. Got the car back from the body shop. He drove all the way back home and leaked coolant out all the way down the highway, about 15 miles. And to the point where there was no coolant in the car by the time he got back because he didn't put the hose on properly. The body shop was actually farther than that gas station. That was probably about 15 miles rather than the 4 miles we ended up having to walk that night. But it's done. So the car looks really good for having 220 plus thousand miles on it. This is not the side that was damaged, but it looks like it's in really good shape. It does have some body damage here on the fender, but that looks like the only type of body damage that this car has. I'll show you where the paint was redone. They did the privacy rear glass. I guess that was an option on some of the cars. I don't think it had that before, but it looks really good on this car. This whole side was painted. And we still have to get that mirror back. He forgot to paint that, so they held on to that mirror cover.